Is he the Chris Elston of Ireland?
Oh my God, that dude is the worst person I've dealt with.
Lisa,
And
did
like,
you see that Chris Elston got retweeted by Elon Musk?
yeah, I've seen his whole transformation, and it's been extremely bizarre to watch because Chris Elston is the poster boy of a fanatically, delusionally obsessed Scientology watcher. And I know he was in Sea Org for 2 years. That's his whole story.
Yeah.
But when he first came onto the scene, I remember he would create these private Facebook groups with nothing but women. So like me, Melissa Paris, other chicks, and then he's the only guy. And this is why I made a video recently of how to tell when people are full of shit. Is like he was so overzealous and hyper vigilant and like up our ass constantly. I mean, Chris Elston would message me, DM me probably 24 hours a day. Like, what do you think about this person? What do you think about this person? What do you know about this? What do you know about that? And he seemed nice in the beginning, but then I saw him do his whole attempted takedown of you and your aftermath for him, where he spent, I don't know how long it took, but he took all 10,000 of your members and then created it like it was his group.
Chris Elston is now known as Billboard Chris, and he does a bunch of anti-trans activism. And
Oh gosh.
and I have spoken with people who have hosted Chris Elston on their podcast, and he said he did not want anyone to know that he used to be a Scientologist and he used to be a Sea Org member. And I swear to God, when I saw Chris Elston, ex-Sea Org member Chris Elston, being retweeted by Elon Musk, I was like, we must be living in the Matrix. I can't even believe this is happening right now.
Well, this is what happened. And I saw, and I didn't even know, because just like there's a Scientology activist group or anti-Scientology, there's like a gender, I don't know what they call it. It's like the gender activist group. And some of them are for pro-trans and some of them are anti-trans. Well, Chris Elston got involved in the anti-trans activist portion. And what is interesting is he has two daughters. Neither of his daughters are LGBT anything. He's married, and maybe they're divorced now. I don't know, but he couldn't make a name for himself in the anti-Scientology community. And I remember Leah Remini, I think she finally blocked him. And literally the day that she blocked him, the next day, I see him tweeting JK Rowling stuff. Like, I love she got, there was a controversy with her being anti-trans as well. And so Chris, I always want to say Shelton, but Elston.
Yeah, we're not talking about Chris Shelton. That's what makes this even funnier. This
is Elston. Their names are similar. The next day, I'm not kidding. He literally was like, "Oh, so I can't be a famous Scientology activist. I'm going to go into this gender activist movement." And he began doing that. And I can't believe how, because if you just look at the guy and listen to him, he looks like a neurotic nut job. And he started doing his Billboard Chris thing, and he set up a website for donations so that he can travel around the world and act like he's protesting anti-trans medicine for kids, where I'm like, dude, you should be home with your two daughters that are not even trans, and this trans debate does not even pertain to him at all.
Here we go.
But
this is an ex-Sea Org member. Billboard Chris is an ex-Sea Org member, ex-Scientologist, and was one of the first people in the post-aftermath Scientology movement to actively try to censor and divide people. I think that's interesting to note.
Yeah, no, he really was. And oh my God, I have so many screenshots saved from him over the years, probably like 1,000 of them, because he was messaging me. I'm not joking, like 24 hours a day, trying to ask me questions. And then he would go to me and he would say like, "Hey, do you know Karen De La Carrier is saying this about you? And then he would go to Karen and be like, do you know Maurice is saying, and then he'd go to everyone. And so I kind of knew. I'm like, Chris, if you're doing this to me, you're telling my information to everyone else. I'm not stupid. And it's obvious that you are just running around to everyone, spreading bullshit to create conflict. And I'm like, please leave me alone. And he got mad at me for doing that. And I know what he did. He actually, oh my God. He posted a Twitter. He emailed himself a death threat. This is what happened. Like, he emailed himself a death threat from an anonymous account, and then he posted it on his Twitter and said it was from me. He's like, look at this death threat that Marisa Sigmund sent me. And I'm looking at it. You don't see my name. And the email address is like this weird thing. And he kept retweeting this to the Canadian police like 500 times a day. It's like, please look into this. I'm getting death threats. And the Canadian police actually contacted the FBI here in Arizona. And I had an FBI agent call me. I made a video about this. An FBI agent was like, this is Agent Bloppity Blob from the Arizona FBI. And he's like, do you know a guy named...
Fucking kidding me.
No, I'm dead serious. He's like, do you know someone by the name of Chris Elston? And I started laughing and I was like, yes, I do. And I know exactly why you're calling me.
Wow.
And this FBI agent said, okay, he's like, I just want to get this shit off my desk. He's like, I don't know why the Canadian police are contacting me because, again, this is back in like 2017, I believe.
Yeah.
So there was like ISIS and all these drug cartel situations that our FBI was focused on. And he's like, I'm an FBI agent. He's like, my job is supposed to be hunting down ISIS and the Sinaloa cartel, not dealing with middle-aged Canadian men that are upset on the internet. And he's like, so it's up to you if you want to come down to the office. He's like, you don't have to. I just needed to talk to you. And I'm like, well, am I in trouble? And he's like, if you were in trouble, I wouldn't be calling you. He's like, we would be knocking on your door.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
amazing.
The FBI office is, but I went to the FBI office because it's only like 5 minutes away from me. And I've always like, how often do you get an invitation to go see the FBI and like not be in trouble? So I went. I'm like, dude, I just want to check out the office and see like what an FBI building looks like. So I went and the FBI agent talked to me and he's like, yeah, we checked the IP address. It's not even from Arizona. And I said, well, what this boils down to is I'm like, have you ever heard of Scientology? My whole thing I asked. And the FBI agent said, isn't that the wacky UFO cult that Tom Cruise is a part of? And then he sort of laughed. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's it. But there's a lot more to it than that. And I tried explaining it to him, but this FBI agent, so when people talk about the FBI and Scientology, I just think our FBI does not care. And they look at it as a kooky, weird cult that they just don't really, they're adrenaline junkies. Like the guy told me, they want to fight ISIS and El Chapo and do adrenaline type things. But yeah, I talked to this FBI agent about Chris Elston, and it was like a 10-minute conversation. And he actually called the Canadian police and was like, please do not contact us for petty things like this, because this is not our job.
That is absolutely incredible. I want to show his Twitter again one more time. And, you guys know that I stay away from politics hardcore on my channel. I do not mind saying that I do not personally think children should be put on puberty blockers. I'm not taking a hard stance on it. I'm just trying not to be a hypocrite here. But what I find objectionable here is that Chris has a worldwide platform now. He's being retweeted by the richest person in the world. And he's horribly afraid of anyone knowing that he used to be a Scientologist and he used to be a Sea Org member. So if you want to tweet at Billboard Chris, just tell him, hey, we know your secret, bro. We know you were a Scientologist. We know you were a Sea Org member. We know you tried to censor Aaron in the fans of Leah Remini's Scientology in the Aftermath group, you piece of shit.
Well, and another thing is when people talk about how you can buy subscribers, he really I remember this. He had 200 followers at the time on Twitter, and I don't use Twitter. I think they're called followers on Twitter, but he had about 200, and Leah Remini kept ignoring him, and all of you from the Aftermath show kept ignoring him. And then I saw his replies and his tweets, and he's like, watch what I'm about to do. And he really did buy an app, and within the next 24 hours, he went up to like 60,000 followers. So he did buy one of those.
Really?
So he went from like 200 to like 60,000 followers because of this booster app that he bought. But then when his gender trans campaign took off, and then he was on Tucker Carlson. He's been on Tucker Carlson.
Chris was on. Oh, I remember that.
He was on Tucker Carlson. So automatically, so that's why he has such a large following now. But I would say 60,000 at minimum are bots that he paid for during his wannabe Scientology activism days. And his whole thing, I mean, I'm looking at it as a daughter perspective. I'm like, dude, if I'm not trans or gay and my dad deserts me to go travel the world to talk about trans issues when that doesn't affect me at all, and he's leaving me and my mom behind so he can get a bunch of self-recognition, and because that's all he's about. I mean, I've known that's how he was in the anti-Scientology movement. If you want to talk about a narcissist, that guy is like a 5,000 megaton narcissist. And he's one of those people that will demand if you do something, he's like, you need to thank me. And the guy is just like a complete, one of the nuttiest people I've dealt with in my life in this movement would be him.
Yeah.
And it's all like very extreme. The people he's catering to are like hardcore extreme. I would say major evangelical right-wing Christian fundamentalist. That's his whole fan base. And
it's his whole career now. It's kind of interesting. It's amazing to see someone that we knew just a few years ago that was a guy that was just begging for attention on Facebook, and now he's got all the attention that he ever wanted. And I guess it's good work if you can get it. But yeah, like, his family and children are at home while he's, just traveling the world wearing a sign, just wearing a sign. That's why he's called Billboard Chris. He wears a billboard on himself that just, it's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And I don't even remember how I first became aware of it, but I was like, I mean, I don't know when I first became aware of like how high his profile had risen. It might have not have been until, Elon Musk retweeted him that I was like, wait a second, hold on. Did Elon Musk just retweet Chris Elston? What's happening here?
Well, Chris was begging for Elon Musk to pay attention to him for a long time. And Chris is really persistent and annoying, and he will not stop until he gets that attention. And yeah, I remember when Elon kind of first recognized him, but I'm like, dude, this is like the wrong guy. Even for people that are, I guess, into, the whole activist scene of puberty blockers, I'm like, this is not the right guy to be representing you, because he's a complete maniac. And
he's a maniac.
Again, I'm like,
and man, you'd never know until you got into his close inner circle what a maniac this guy is.
Oh, his daughters are going to grow up and probably never want to talk to him, because I wouldn't. I'm like, wow, Dad, why are you leaving me to fight for something that doesn't even pertain to me or your family? And you're acting like you're this global crusader for something that I'm not even dealing with as your daughter. So I would be hurt, because he essentially left his wife and his two daughters to do this. That's all for self-recognition and fame. And I don't know how much money he's making, but there's a lot of dumb people in that circle where he's probably making a pretty penny, if I had to guess.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, oh, Auntie Mama Love, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.